The Pulse is coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle on digital address GA0992539. Our top stories this are a number of fallouts from the 2020 elections, and this afternoon things are unfolding fast. Ho High Court grants interim injunction on the gazetting of John Peter Amewu as MP-elect for Hohoi. We have details of that. NDC supporters continue to protest in part of the country. Today they are in Volta, Upper East and Northeast regions. We'll bring you details of what is unfolding there. And in 1 week from today, the NDC will lose a chance to challenge results of the 2020 polls. We'll get legal education on what lies ahead. We're live from Kokomlemle on digital address 0992539, on Go TV channel 144, on DSTV channel 421, and on DTT because we are free to air. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for choosing us. In our very first story, non-governmental organization Network for Young Women Empowerment has identified a subculture of the people in the Upper West region known in the local parlance as Tijabonyeni, to wit, we are all one or family, as the major stumbling block to fight against gender-based violence in the region. In a communique issued at the end of a stakeholder engagement, chairperson of the Network for Young Empowerment, Ida Nakari, stated that issues of gender-based violence, including defilement and rape, which are criminal, are settled at the family level rather than the courts, which is an affront to the fight against the canker. JoyNews' Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam has more.
Network for Young Women Empowerment, as part of the observance of the 16-day activism for the past couple of weeks, has been engaging major stakeholders on the campaign against gender violence in the country, especially the Upper West region. Several programs were held, including road shows, sensitization workshops, and climax with the issuance of a communique to nip the practice in the bud. Chairperson for the Network for Young Women Empowerment, Ida Nakari, noted that the fight against gender-based violence is a collective responsibility and all shoulders should be on the wheels to help eliminate it. The Network for Young Women Empowerment led a litany of major stakeholders that will help in the fight against the canker. They included Plan International Ghana, Upper West Department of Gender, Wala Traditional Council, and the Domestic Violence and Victim Support Unit of the Upper West Police Command. The main objective of the engagement is to enable the network and the stakeholders to address the common reported cases of gender-based violence, their causes, with a view to finding an antidote to it.
Some of the common cases that came up during our engagement was adoption, indecent assault, defilement, sextortion, otherwise known, and in other languages, others would say online abuse, rape, offensive conduct, compulsion of marriage, and then abandonment of infants.
However, one notable stumbling block they found was the subculture of the people, which is known in local parlance as Tijabonyeni, to wit, we're all one or one family.
One other thing that the meeting came up with is that the Tijabonyeni disease in the Upper West region is one thing that is really, really threatening, and that is really making it difficult for us to make a headway in terms of this. The Tijabonyeni here means what? We are all one or we are all family, so no need for perpetrators to be punished. So on that note, we are coming up strongly to say that the Tijabonyeni spirit in the Upper West region or in the Wa municipality must be an evil or a canker that we need to deal with if we really want to make a headway.
The stakeholders made several requests, which included amending of all obsolete social cultural practices that creates room for gender-based violence.
But based on these backgrounds, there is a call to the regional minister to support the process of enforcing the laws on sexual and gender-based violence in the Upper West region. The Department of Gender is humbly requested to incorporate activities addressing the sexual and gender-based violence in their work plan going forward. We also want to request our Wala Traditional Council and all the councils in the paramountcies in the Upper West region to amend some of the harmful cultural practices that create room for gender-based violence. We are calling on the media, our friends from the media, to help educate the public on the consequences on the gender-based violence. The Department of Social Welfare should step up their role in advocating and helping the vulnerable, especially those who have been abused sexually.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
The Opposition National Democratic Congress NDC has only 1 week to present an election petition to the Supreme Court following the rejection of the results of the 2020 elections. According to the Constitution, an aggrieved party may present an election petition to the Supreme Court within 21 days after the declaration of the results. The NDC has since served notice of its disagreement with the results declared by Chairperson of the EC, Madam Jean Mensah, who will speak to a private legal practitioner, Samson Lade Anyanini, shortly on this timeline. But first, here is my colleague Kwekwa Sante with a wrap of all that has happened since the declaration of the election results.
On the basis of the foregoing election results, by the power vested in me as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Ghana and the returning officer of the presidential election, it is my duty and honor to declare Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as President-elect of the Republic of Ghana.
Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jean Mensah, declaring President Akufo-Addo as validly elected President on 9 December. This was expected to bring to an end a tumultuous campaign period, but the NDC's rejection of the results ushered the country into a new phase of nationwide protests. The party's presidential candidate, John Mahama, described the election as flawed and the results fictitious.
When in 2016, at the end of my first full term as president, I ran for re-election as an incumbent candidate, I respected the will of the people. I conceded, I stepped aside, and I set in motion a peaceful transfer of power because I understood that it was the will of the people. And if we are to progress as a nation, if we are to live up to the inheritance of our history, one for which people have paid the ultimate price, the sacred verdict of the people must be respected. It must be protected. It has been my pledge throughout my time of service as a representative to the good people of Ghana to do exactly that. And that is why I stand before you tonight unwilling to accept the fictionalized results of a flawed election.
Party leaders urged their supporters to express their rejection of the results by pouring onto the streets to protest.
No mama, no mama, no peace. No mama, no peace. No mama, no peace. No peace. No peace. No peace. Oh, Bonyo, Ashawa. No peace. No peace. No peace.
Over the last 2 weeks, NDC executives have led supporters across the country from Sefi, Takwa, Kumasi, Tamale, and Accra to demonstrate against the results. The protests have been characterized by burning of ties and, in some instances, confrontation with the police, who accuse the NDC of breaching the Public Order Act. But the party's action have been criticized by several civil society organizations, including IDEC, which have urged the NDC to present their evidence of fraud and rigging to the courts and Electoral Commission for redress.
As we have stated before, carrying out demonstrations and going to court are not mutually exclusive nor contradictory. Legal recourse may be pursued even as peaceful demonstrations are carried out. Therefore, we join the voices of the sections of the public to urge the NDC to present their concerns to the courts for legal redress. We wish to emphasize in this regard that going to court does not amount to a lost cause. We fully appreciate that the aggrieved parties may be concerned over the length of time required in pursuing court cases, and the fact that during this time, the processes of swearing in the president and parliamentarians will take place, seemingly bringing their case to naught. We wish, therefore, to explain that the Constitution indeed provides a tight schedule of statutory dates for the swearing in of the elected president and parliamentarians. This schedule will have to be followed in order that the entire system of governance does not come to a standstill, leading to a constitutional crisis. We wish to assure members of the public that the courts have the mandate to effect necessary changes following their verdicts on election-related disputes.
The latest protest was that of the NDC lawmakers who yesterday besieged the EC premises in a botched attempt to present a petition to the EC on the disputed TECHIMAN South parliamentary election, which has been declared for the NPP. The minority have since held what they describe as a public collation of the TECHIMAN South election, which they say shows their candidate won. The EC has since indicated it will begin an almost 1 month recess starting today, Wednesday, 23rd December to 19th January 2020. But on the substantive presidential election results the NDC have rejected, the party has only...
And we're live on The Pulse. Let's now cross live to the NPP head office, where there's a press conference currently being addressed by campaign manager Peter McNeil.
Today, we have called you in respect of TECHIMAN South parliamentary elections. I must state also here that we do not speak for the Electoral Commission. We speak for ourselves, and we speak to set the record straight as against a multitude of lies peddled by the NDC yesterday. It is important to state upfront that the NPP parliamentary candidate for TECHIMAN South, Mr. Martin Mensah, won that election and so declared by the EC. For the avoidance of doubt, we present to you the results of TECHIMAN parliamentary elections as per all pink sheets available to us. Martin Mensah, NPP, 49,682. And I repeat, Martin Mensah, NPP, 49,682. 2. Christopher Baire Basomgut, NDC, 49,205. And I repeat, 2. Christopher Baire Basomgut, NDC, 49,205. Per all the pink sheets available to us, which are here displayed, our candidate, Martin Ajay Mensah Kosa, was duly elected as MP for TECHIMAN South for the next parliament, January 2021 to January 2025. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen of the press, it is important for us to expose the lies, deceit, propaganda, and political chicanery, shenanigans, and dishonesty of the NDC since the process towards the 2020 elections began. The NDC has always sensed that it will lose the 2020 elections. And so, from the beginning of the year, they had constantly been impugning the integrity of the EC, as per their presidential candidate's logic, that if you sense that you are losing the elections or the match, attack the referee, attack the integrity of the referee. Mahama, this is Mahama at the NDC 2016 last rally. Ghanaians will recall that way back in September, and specifically on September 24th, 2020, Mr. Mahama made clear his intention not to accept the 2020 election results. Which results did he say he won't accept? The one in which he was going to be declared winner, or the one in which he was going to be declared loser? As they say in Ghana, I can't think far. But for the moment, let us come back to TECHIMAN South elections. I have already stated TECHIMAN South parliamentary elections were collated and Martin J. Mensah duly declared winner. The NDC initially said that there was no collation in TECHIMAN South. Now they are asking for recollation. If there was no collation in the first place, how can there be recollation? But it is important to point out to the NDC that after results have been collated and declared, the only remedy available to them if they disagree with the collated and declared results is to go to court of competent jurisdiction. But as is obvious to Ghanaian people, the NDC is not ready to be put in strict proof. All they want to do is court public disaffection for the EC, and by that reduce the legitimacy of MPP's victory in the eyes of well-meaning Ghanaians. But in their attempt to do so, they have constantly exposed their own lies and reduced their own esteem in the eyes of Ghanaian people. This far, NDC has put out several results as representing what they call true results of TECHIMAN South parliamentary elections. But there cannot be multiple truths. So which of the several results that NDC has put out represents the true results of the TECHIMAN parliamentary elections? Yesterday, the minority in parliament promised to display all 265 pin sheets from TECHIMAN South. In the end, they subjected viewers to fabricated images of an Excel spreadsheet. Excel spreadsheet, not collated sheet of the EC. I think media men and the public know the difference. Such gross deceit and incompetence. And according to them, the MPP candidate obtained 50,013 votes, while their candidate obtained 50,306 votes. So according to the NDC majority's juju figure, NDC won TECHIMAN South with a difference of 293 votes. On the 10th of December 2020, Johnson Esiedun Ketia claimed that NDC candidate polled 50,569, while the NPP candidate polled 49,874 votes, making it a vote difference of 695. On the 11th of December 2020, John Dramani Mahama, presidential candidate of the NDC, claimed that the NDC parliamentary candidate gained 50,414 votes, while the NPP parliamentary candidate obtained 49,825, in which case, according to candidate Mahama, the NDC candidate won with a difference of 592 votes. Then on 21st December 2020, the NDC candidate himself, Christopher Beire, in an interview with Joy FM's Joseph Opoku Gakpo, claimed that he won the elections with a margin of 700. Around 4 p.m. on the same day, on JoyNews, he claimed he has won by 2,000 votes. Later the same day on Newsnight, on JoyNews, the very same Christopher Beire claimed that he won the election with a vote margin of 825. So, ladies and gentlemen of the media, if we are to believe the NDC story that they won the TECHIMAN South parliamentary elections, they won it with vote difference of 293, at a point 695, at a point 592, at a point 700, and then 825. Mind you, we are talking about an election in one constituency. In this singular constituency, the NDC won by 5 different margins. Ridiculous. They are so inept, lazy, and propaganda-driven to such an extent that they can't get basic computing right. Basically, they can't even tell a consistent lie. How could they be incompetent even at forgery? Ladies and gentlemen of the press, let me state again, for purposes of emphasis, that MPP won the presidential election of 2020 and tied with the NDC on parliamentary elections, at least for now. And I say for now because we have signaled our intention to go to court to challenge the validity of a number of seats which the EC has declared for the NDC. We are also going to challenge some of their parliamentary results. And you will hear from us very soon. For us, in the court of law, not in the streets. Have you all noticed that suddenly the NDC has stopped talking about presidential election? To date, they have provided no figure to back all the street protests that they have urged other people's children to embark on while they keep their children either in the comfort of their homes or in cozy villas abroad. This is why NDC has always been opposed to a universal access to education by all Ghanaians. They want to keep an uninformed population, so propaganda, lies, and deceit can have a legitimate hold on the politics of our country. This is pathetic. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost in the Christmas season, and so we shall not keep you for long. We wish to reiterate the point that the 2020 elections has been one of the cleanest and the most transparent in Ghana's election history. CODEO, EU, ECOWAS, and other international observers have all affirmed same. No effort to denigrate the results of election 2020 will gain traction. We call on Mahama to tell his supporters the truth that he lost the election. It is okay if he wants to go to court, the support of his party for another try in 2024, but it is not okay to endanger the lives of other people's children, and by that endanger the security of our country. This far, the security agencies have been professional in their handling of the provocations that Mahama has encouraged his supporters to foment. We cannot, however, be sure what will happen if he continues to display such carelessness and irresponsibility in not wanting to go to the appropriate forum to seek for redress, but continue to fight for his battles on the streets. Already, respected bodies like the National House of Chiefs, the Peace Council, the Coalition of Civil Society Organizations have called on Mahama to follow the law in addressing his grievances. He should do the needful. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a prosperous 2021 New Year. May God bless our homeland Ghana and make her a great and strong nation. I thank you.
Can you walk us through?
Many things happened on the declaration and the process of declaring the election results in TECHIMAN South. And we want to walk you through what the video captured for you to see what really went on. To begin with, the collation center is supposed to engage only the 2 agents and the security forces. So if you look at the melee, the chaotic situation that was happening there by NDC supporters and members who mass up. And I think one of their strategy was to mass up at various collation centers on the D-Day when they know they were losing, because they did that here. They did that at Escado Ketan, did that at Security also, and other places. Why? Allow the EC to collate in a serene atmosphere, because you need a peace of mind and peace to pick figures, to transpose figures from the pink sheet onto the collation sheet. But if there is that chaotic situation that we're going to find ourselves here, it will be difficult for anybody to do the kind of collation we would have expected. So I think the EC has done well. But many people who were there, particularly the NDC folks, have breached the law by attacking the EC officials, because it is against the law under the PNDC Political Parties Act. All right, let's go.
So we have Seth here. He's a member of the IT team, and we have our pin sheet here. We have a collection of our pin sheets here for all the 32 electoral areas. And then on there you see the videos of the collation. So you have the NDC candidates. We have the NDC candidate. He is the man in the Lacoste t-shirt. Now you see here. This man is a leading member of the NDC. He's the assemblyman for Sansama election.
So this is the EC collation center.
Yes, this is the Bron Champion Hall, TECHIMAN Municipal Assembly, where the collation was done. So you see the NDC candidates in the Lacoste t-shirts there. Leading members of the NDC. We have the assemblyman for Sansama. The man in mask, we call him Buguma. He was a parliamentary. Call him Buguma Mohammed. He was a parliamentary aspirant. He contested the NDC primaries. He didn't make it. The man sitting there with the tag is the NDC constituency chairman, called Manu. And then the man in mosque, his back is facing us, so we can't.
So was this an NDC collation center or EC collation center? Because I can read you what the CI 125 says about who and who should attend a collation.
So this is at the time that the collation was going on. A lot of the leading members of the NDC were around, but not all of them are captured in the photograph. In fact, at the collation center, the regional chairman was there, Chairman Ignacio was there. There are other videos that we can show to identify a lot of the individuals. Yes, this is still at the collation center. If we can rotate it. And the director, the returning officer, was about declaring the results. So some of the people that we can identify in the picture, the man there is the first vice chairman NPP, Manu East region. The man in the mosque here is also a second vice chairman, the constituency second vice chairman. And then you can see Honorable Adebe Sankosa also. Here. This is the one we saw. And then, if you can read it. So this is the returning officer. So the man who started the scaffold, who pushed the table, is the NDC parliamentary candidate himself, trying to scatter the documents and everything that the EC. Yes, that's the EC. So this is our Nasara coordinator, the man in t-shirts, NPP Nasara coordinator. And then, please can you pause? This man, Red, is the former member of parliament of NDC. He's also called Ajay Mensah. Yes. So these are a lot of the NDC men. Let the video go. The man who took the megaphone is the constituency organizer. You see, he came and took the megaphone. The whole thing was to stop the EC from going ahead to declare the results and to scatter the whole program. But thankfully, the EC returning officer was able to declare the results. And those of us who have won, them went out. So, he's the conference organizer of TECHIMAN South. We have the DC, MC, and then observers. In fact, the first video where that we showed, we saw observers were all sitting there. So, at the collation center, observers were allowed in everything that was going on there. They also a lot of the NDC constituency executives, both regional and constituency, were all there. Shots of the projected figures. Okay, so from the NDC, from the coalition center, from our coalition. These are screenshots of the coalition. This is a screenshot of the coalition. I think you can. Okay, so this is the collation that was done at the EC. So after we have collated our figures, yes, this is NPP collation figures. After the collation, this is what we also obtained. You can see the police station codes. That's the column shaded in blue, the polling station names, then the votes that the total registered voters for each polling station, the votes that NPP got, the votes that NDC got, the rejected, and then the total valid votes, which led to the total that the Electoral Commission declared that Honorable Ajay Mensah is the winner for the parliamentary elections in TECHIMAN South, and so declared. So if you can show the video, before the collation, the night before, there was also a scaffold where the NDC guys destroyed a number of pin sheets and ballot boxes for reasons best known to them.
Votes cast.
This is
for a police station that I won.
JHS.
Damaged everything. Look at the ballot box.
So this is the night, that's on the 7th, at the beginning of collation. That was what happened at the collation. Now this is in front of the Great Champion Hall. The hall has a large land in front of it where the ballot boxes are arranged before they are taken into the collation center. So this incident happened at the collation center.
For your information, this matter was reported to the police by the Electoral Commission, and so it has records. And anybody can authenticate this. I believe that the police is still investigating. The returning officer, the presiding officer who was attacked is called James Ejay. And the security had to whisked him away to safety and subsequently lodged a complaint with the police. So it's important that you take note of this.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as we showed, all the 267, in fact, traditionally we have 265 police stations. The 2 additional police stations are the special registration, the special votes polling centers. That adds up to the 267. So these are the pin sheets that we use in the collation process at the collation center. So if probably you can zoom. So we have Methodist JHS1 Techiman. Police station code is K010101B. Where Honorable Ajeme Sankosa had NPP 386, and then Christopher Bayer Basumti NDC had 113.
Which police station are you mentioning?
This is Methodist JHS Techiman 1. K0101B.
So call the figure.
The figures is Honorable Ajeme Sankosa NPP 386.
386.
386.
NDC.
And then NDC is 113. So rejected is 2. In fact, this one, the presiding officer made a mistake. He wrote 501.
Mention his name.
The presiding officer is Aganda Derek. The polling agent for MPP is Amorin James. And for NDC is Sule Isifu. So these are pin sheets. In order to make, for simplicity's sake, we arrange our pin sheets according to electoral areas. So what I have is for one electoral area called Tunsuasi electoral area. So the next one is Methodist JHS Techiman 2. Police station code is K01 101 02A. K0 10 102A.
And it's a Diana. Is it a Diana JHS?
It's immediately after the first police station that I mentioned. K0 10 102A.
So what is it? 10.
Mention the name of the police station.
Methodist JHS Techiman 2. So go on. Go on.
Please, allow him. Call it again. Call the code.
The code is K0 10 102A.
Yes. Met JHS Techiman.
Yes.
Methodist is not right the best.
So call the figure.
The figures NPP is 266. NDC 98. Rejected is 0, and the total vote cast is 364.
On the pen sheet.
The presiding officer is Upoku Kofi Isaac. For the agents, MPP agent is Aferi Yeboah Derek, and then NDC is Keneboa.
Okay, no, don't close it. Let the camera pick it now.
Come this way.
Okay. I think it can be picked.
Yes,
Yes, they all signed.
Yes.
So this is that's what you have to mention.
So Chairman, while at the collation center, the focus of the new patriotic party was to ensure that the returning officer who has the responsibility under the law to declare the results was done. The NDC brought in their attacks, headed by their parliamentary candidate, and caused the mayhem. We have shown to you our pin sheets from all the 267 polling stations, and we've confirmed from the figures on the pin sheet as against what was recorded at the collation center before the attack. We expect the media to look at what the campaign manager and our MP-elect has presented to you as against the spreadsheet of the NDC and their minority.
And there are different numbers that they are.
And there are different numbers put out by Mr. John Dramani Mahama, Mr. Sidun Ketia, the candidate himself, and Mr. Haruna Idrisu. Thank you very much. Okay, Chairman, I'm told there's another video they want to show.
Let them finish that.
That's when they were calling their supporters to come and force.
That's what they did in Esikado Ketan and Sekirioki.
Okay, so we have a crowd gathering in front of the race.
This was after they've made announcement on Akina Radio that their members should move to the collation center. And that they did. We had Sami Jemfi, we had Otokuno, Esedun Ketia, and Mr. Fianka, that they should march up to all collation centers. And the same thing they are doing on daily basis, marching across, bending ties, and causing mayhem. Yes. Okay. So, yeah. Please say no. You need to know.
And you know, and you know, ne adopfonum more essential for Mama Kwaba, Eba New Patriotic Party campaign officer. Yedamwasi se emre twem emre bia ye fremo a moba na mobeti asem na ema yenya kwan ema Ghana mansan eni wiase afa na nya so eti yasem a yepese yeka yedamwasi ne se ni amusi echechense mu kire wiase afa na ni Ghana fa na nya nyame hwamo na Ghana for so yedamwasi wo sa adwuma na amudie no na edi kan yen New Patriotic Party and some course so TECHIMAN South ada Electoral Commission declare nipa owini abano ye condemn shooting a two to a course so ho a man nipa mienu wu ya nipa bepre so edi edem ye condemn pa saade no nti yesre security agencies say omo momode nyem pensemu ewo sansemu a isi wo ho no emse wo hwe video ya ye be yie a wo be hu se nipa bi ye macho man said de omo de omo pene ade no so emra ye friend see I 127 na ye de ye adwuma nye no na isi ho ene ya friend mo say ye pese ye no mo di nkomo e fa TECHIMAN parliamentary elections no ho na e pese ye di kan ka esi sudua say your candidate MPP parliamentary candidate for TECHIMAN South your friend Owura Martin J.Mensa Kosa no ono ne di nkunim ewo abana ye to wo 7th December no electoral commission so e declare no sa ye hwe video no so ye hu ye na ye nyi hu achinyi no ye de results your friend pin sheets polling stations war Techima for 2 years. Yede ebi bededi ama mwashe. Na yakika sa polling stations no ne special voting menu a ne wo Techima South no bomwa. Yewura Martin Mensa Kosa ojina homa MPP no. Onya 49,682 mpim aduanan kron.
And that was the NPP campaign chairman, Peter McMahon, making claims that the NPP parliamentary candidate, Martin Kosa, was duly elected in TECHIMAN South and is actually the winner of the 2020 parliamentary elections in that area, rejecting the claims by the NDC, saying that there were machinations in that area and therefore their parliamentary candidate, Christopher Bayere, is the winner of that election. They actually showing videos just like the NDC did yesterday to back their claims that their parliamentary candidate, Martin Kosa, is the one who won the TECHIMAN South constituency. We're still monitoring how this whole thing unfolds, but back to our conversation about how the days ahead will look like from the legal point of view. Legal practitioner and host of JoyNews' current affairs show, Samson Ladi Anyanene, now joins me on the phone. Samson, judging from how things have panned out and with the election manual at view, how would you describe the days ahead from the law point of view as far as the NDC's contention of election results is concerned?
Right. So, by the law, as founded on the Constitution itself, the Constitution itself, which is the supreme law of the country, dictates that if one is aggrieved by an election result, then they have the opportunity to ventilate that, grievance in the court by way of a petition. Now we have made other subsidiary laws, so to speak. We have an Act of Parliament, the Representation of the People Act, which also reaffirms the position in the Constitution, and we have also made CI 74, and the subsequent ones that we have made that clearly state how the processes ought to be brought. But in whatever way the process has to be done, the filing of the case must be done within 21 days from the date of the declaration of the result. That is, if you are suing on the presidential election, if you are challenging the presidential election result, you will file the suit or the petition in the Supreme Court. And the dates begin to count from the date of the declaration. So in this present circumstance, from the 9th of December, not the 10th that you see the Gazette notification. But when it comes to the parliamentary result, if you want to challenge the parliamentary result, which the NDC indicates it intends to challenge a number of them, the NPP also says it intends to challenge a number of them, the days begin to run from the date of the Gazette. And so in respect of the parliamentary result, as we understand, either the Gazette must have been done yesterday or will be done tomorrow. So that is when the days will begin to run. In either case, there is fine. The door has not yet been shut to the NDC if it wants to do presidential petition or a parliamentary petition.
In all of these, something, the Electoral Commission has indicated it has taken a break and will return on January 9. And a move that many people have accused the EC of acting unlawfully or irresponsibly. If you recall, about over 30 CSOs who say the EC has acted irresponsibly, and they say the EC ought not to have taken that decision. Has the EC conducted an illegality?
An illegality, no. Straightforward, no. But look, laws are good, but we don't think, we don't process our thinking everything in terms of law. We apply wisdom, common sense. And in the present situation, it clearly doesn't do well for the umpire of the elections to be talking about shutting its doors or closing shop. You don't do that. I work in a law firm. Many law firms, of course, are going on a Christmas break. We have all declared a break. But for a state institution, independent statutory institution, constitutional body like the Electoral Commission, and in the circumstances we find ourselves where the results are subject of disputation or contestation, that's the last you want to hear officially from the Electoral Commission. But I think they have issued another statement in respect today, in respect of all 8 other officers in the various districts. And that statement appears, the last paragraph appears to clarify what was issued yesterday by saying that there will be some staff that will be available. That's what. You don't, if you want to take an action, you don't need the EC to open shop before you could go ahead. You really don't need them. You can go ahead and do your processes for as long as, even when they have shut and gone for break, there will be some secretary or person at the front of it to receive the legal processes. That is fine. But if the suggestion was that they were closing shops to the extent that, you know, nothing at all will work, and therefore, even if people file these suits and they came there to serve the processes of them, they won't find them. That would have been terrible. So the clarification that I think we find today, it's okay. I mean, everybody deserves some grace. So the staff who may not be in charge of the major work, the majority of them can go on break. As far as there can be a certain skeleton staff to ensure that things that have to run in the period will run, that will be fine.
With the chairperson herself on going on break, that is fine.
You don't need her. You don't need her presence to be able to prosecute the case. Yes, and the fact is that once you have filed the processes, if the office as the Electoral Commission has been served and her presence is required, nobody will tell whoever it is to come from whichever vacation to attend to the court. Because if you don't show up, things will work in your disadvantage. That's the point of law. If you don't show up when you are required to show up and to defend your case in person, of course they will have lawyers. And in this digital world, they will instruct the lawyers from wherever they may be on break, and the lawyers will file the processes in their defense. But when the time comes for, say, evidence to be taken, where you need somebody to be in the witness box to speak, they will determine who will speak. It may not be the commission chairperson herself, unless where it's a presidential, petition, and the court, requires by an order that she will be the one to step in the witness box. Then, of course, she will have to attend. And if is of grace, and the court finds that it is absolutely necessary, the clear orders will be issued. And if you disobey those orders, you'll be a candidate for prison.
I'm grateful for your time. Samson Ladi Anyenene is a private legal practitioner and host of Newsfile. We'll be looking at how things unfold and get to the bottom of this matter. With 21 days deadline, I mean, we have just 1 week to that deadline, which the NDC would have to go to court. We'll take a break. On the Pulse, we'll return with more. Welcome back to the Pulse, and it's Christmas time in Germany and across Europe, and it is turning out to be one like no other. Normally a time for friends, family, food and gifts has been overshadowed by travel and contact restrictions, a new strain of the virus, and the race to start vaccinating people as the number of new infections remains dangerously high in many places. For the latest, my colleague Enimwa Enimado spoke to William Glucroft, correspondent with DW, our partner in Berlin, and asked, among other questions, how are countries handling the new strain that has been reported?
Well, good. It actually looks a lot like what we remember in the springtime when there was so much chaos about cross-border traffic and whether countries should stay open to other travelers and people from outside their countries or not. And much of the scientific research says it doesn't make a huge difference if you close the borders when the virus is already spread so widely. This new mutation that was found in the UK that led to much harder lockdowns over the weekend, its initial research shows can be as much as 70% more infectious, but vaccine makers say the vaccine will still be effective against it. Nonetheless, that led to a lot of hasty travel bans being put into place across the EU against the UK, which led to real chaos at airports over the weekend as people rushed to get back before what they thought would be their last flights back to Germany. Police were separating people based on their nationality and their residency, whether they could prove that they were negative of the virus or not. It was a real messy situation. Since then, the EU has come out and said they do not support blanket travel bans. France has loosened up some of its travel restrictions. Germany, however, is sticking with its restrictions until at least January 1st for some people coming back from the UK, and January 6th for a more general lifting of the ban. So it's still a very tense time here as public health officials try to understand and protect against this new apparent mutant strain of the virus.
Right, so what does Christmas look like where you are? Are there any special rules that have been put in place, and what has been the public response?
Oh, many special rules that have been also very confusing as Germany went from a somewhat loose lockdown to a harder lockdown in the last couple of weeks because the new infection rate was just staying stubbornly high, anywhere from 20 to 30,000 new infections every day. We now have 28,000 deaths in total in Germany, almost two-thirds of those coming in just this second wave. So worse situation than what we saw in the springtime when Germany was roundly applauded for its performance with the pandemic. Christmas, people are obviously still wanting to travel and meet family and friends and stay with them. Public health officials are pleading with people not to do that, to keep it to the absolute minimum number. And if you can do it, be outside like I am today, even though it's a bit cold and damp. It is, the deepest, darkest part of winter right now here in Northern Europe. That's what they're hoping, because the fear is if people gather too much and indoors, there's going to be another major spike in cases after Christmas that's going to put the hospital system even under more strain than it already is.
So the EU has approved the vaccine. What now?
The rollout. Public health officials, Jens Spahn, the federal health minister here in Germany, he says he hopes the vaccinations can now start as early as the 27th of December. That's right after Christmas here in Germany. Of course, like many other countries, it's going to be the highest risk people, the most vulnerable people to get that vaccine first. Very old people, sick people, care workers, nurses, people who are in high risk environments. And that's going to itself take a couple of months. The health officials here say there's going to be a very limited amount of doses available of the vaccine. In January, the EU hopes to approve the Moderna vaccine, so then there'll be 2 possible vaccines to deliver around Germany and around Europe. But it's going to take many, many months to get through the highest priority people before we can even get to the general population. Again, Jens Spahn, the health minister, he says he hopes by summer to have the entire German population vaccinated, but it's going to be a long road until then, with a lot of variables, a lot of moving parts, a huge logistical challenge, and that's where we are ending 2020 and going into 2021.
Right. Well, thank you very much, William, for joining us, and I hope that somehow you managed to have a wonderful Christmas. Back to Aisha on The Pulse.
And that was in Nimwa. Now, the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital is investing 2.2 million cedis to establish an assisted reproductive technology center to enhance its fertility services. The center is expected to commence operations in the first quarter of 2021, which will help address reproduction health challenges in the country. Chief Executive Officer Dr. Ohenebo says the hospital keeps investing in modern technology in spite of the impact of COVID-19 on its operations.
The Komfo-Anokye Hospital suffered severe operational and financial bruises in 2020 as a result of reduction in patronage during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic. 1 person died and 356 of its staff were affected by the disease. Hikes in cost of medical consumables also affected the revenue base of the hospital. In the midst of this, the hospital is investing in new technology to address fertility challenges in the hospital. CEO Dr. Oheneba Owusu-Danso, at a Thanksgiving service and staff reception event, expressed delight at the hospital's progress in the midst of the pandemic.
Among the facilities that would commence operations in the coming year will be the 2,200,000 Ghana cedis Assisted Reproductive Technology Center, funded through the hospital's IGF, to provide top-level specialist fertility services to the country, and it will be the only type of its kind in the public health sector in Ghana. 4 fertility specialists have already completed their training in South Africa, Australia, United Kingdom, and Ghana, among others, in readiness for the operations of the ART Center, which is expected to be completed by the end of the first quarter of 2021. The Korean Foundation for International Healthcare, KOFI, on the other hand, is assisting the hospital with funds for the procurement of specialized equipment and instruments and the training of surgeons, nurses, and allied staff in South Korea in readiness for the takeoff of the laparoscopy center by the middle of next year.
Meanwhile, the hospital has constructed a 47-flat building for junior doctors. Dr. Owusu-Danso is positive this will save the hospital the huge cost incurred in renting accommodation for staff.
This block contains 47 flats for our newly qualified doctors, those we call the house officers. We've had deficit over the years, and we've been renting accommodation for them at huge cost. We think that this will come in as a good reliever for us in terms of our expenditures, even though we have spent so much money to bring it on board. And that for the years ahead of us, for those who will be living here, we don't have to spend extra money in renting private accommodation for their comfort.
Management also revealed the hospital has computerized its clinical operations and patients' folders are no longer in use at the facility. Prince Apia reporting.
Imported toys flood the market during this festive season. Children are bombarded with an array of toys ranging from guns, cars to dolls. But can't our local craftsmen also live up to the billing? Love FM's Kwesi Deborah has been looking at how some of them are trying to cash in on this market and the problems they're facing. Here's his story.
A couple, a male and a female. This is the female. You see the baby strapped in the back. And this is the male. And that's as we say. behind every successful, or beside every successful man, there's a woman. You know, God created man and woman to come together as one. So it makes a beautiful home or family. Yes.
Peter Ken Appiah is head of research and publicity at the Center for National Culture, Kumasi. The center has come up with these black dolls dressed in Ghanaian cloth. The goal is to achieve what the producers term Africanizing Christmas.
A pair is 60 cedis. They are packaged in pairs. Yes. So these dolls you see are the African version of Christmas dolls. Aside the being used as Christmas dolls in our homes, like our young ladies and them, they also use it as a play toy, you know. And way back we've been having these dolls cast in the white color and all those things, because you know, Christmas generally is perceived to be a foreign or a white kind of thing, but we also have noticed that yes, Christmas is a global thing. It's for Christians, and Ghana largely is a Christian country, even though it's a secular country. I mean, in other words, Christians are in the majority, about 70% or so. So those in the creative art industry thought it wise to come out with the African version of such dolls so as to meet the tastes of the market. And let me also say that rather the taste has been largely tilted towards the Europeans. I mean, they patronize these dolls a lot. And then African families as well, the Ghanaian diaspora. This is something we're trying to do so that we try to Africanize, you know, Christmas. Gone are the days we have Jesus Christ painted in white and everything. Christmas so white, you know. You look at Santa Claus is white and red and those things. We want to make Christmas an African thing so that Africans would embrace it and see it as their own rather than perceiving it as something foreign. Yeah, so we ask.
However, the promotion of indigenous dolls or ekwaba as a Christmas item has been unsuccessful. Edubwahe, a sculptor, blames local filmmakers for demonizing the gift item. Filmmakers portray the Kwaba dolls as idols. They also use it to depict witchcraft. People claim when you hang in your room, it will torment you. They cast aspersions on them when you display the central market.
Santa Market Crana. When we go digital and we do all these things, people will begin to appreciate it, and then it will have this huge patronage on the local market.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
And from all of us here, Merry Christmas to you. We'll take a break on the Pulse. There is more when we return. Welcome back to the Pulse of the rest of our stories. And if you have been driving around town, you realize how congested the streets are. These are some shots that reveal how bad the situation is around the major streets of Accra. What is accounting for this? Is this a matter of holiday revelers journeying through town, or a poor traffic network system in town? Cecil Gabra is transport consultant. He spoke to my colleague Charles Aite.
Thousands of visitors and commuters visiting Accra during this Christmas period. The central business district becomes a destination for everyone during these festivities, so you don't blame anybody. That's the first point. Many are seen to buy and sell. They come to Accra, they come to purchase and go and sell. Others are also window shopping. The pavements and streets that we all walk on are choked with human activities, and this affects traffic, whether we like it or not. In view of this, excessive use of road infrastructure has gone beyond its capacity. I'm talking about the pavements and the roads itself. And then secondly, there is also the issue of bad attitude of drivers. Many of them are disobeying traffic. They park everywhere. They are overtaking, doing wrongful overtakings, and then alighting and picking up passengers everywhere. I'm talking about both taxis and trotros. Right. So in this respect, this is where I believe that the way forward can solve the issue. The way forward, obviously, is that we need a force. You cannot stay and say that driving doesn't need any enforcement. Whether we like it or not, we need enforcement. And then we need the collaboration of Accra Metropolitan Authority and the Accra Central Motor Traffic Transport Department, that's the MTTD, and deploying more policemen and maybe more city cards to solve this issue. It's only for 1 week. After 1 week, the pressure comes down. Right. Now, we also need to arrest and prosecute recalcitrant motorists. Many of them will flout the road regulations, and this is the time where they must face the laws. However, I don't think there's any issue of where we'll say road accidents will also be on the increase. It will come from us if we're only disciplined. So on the issue of traffic congestion, I feel that people must be very cautious, and we must also be doing the right thing. After all, Christmas is only a few days. Why do you have to rush and get yourself knocked down by a vehicle? Right, the pavements must be controlled by the authority, okay? If we need to cut on the pavement from the streets, this is an opportunity that we can use. Right, so the traffic congestion builds from Accra, and it goes everywhere. Once traffic is in Accra, that's a central business point for everybody, and once it's in Accra, it flows down to everywhere. So that's the situation at the moment.
And as I wrap up on the Pulse this afternoon, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for joining us, and of course, from all of us here, Merry Christmas.